I don't see a Fed that's overestimated the strength of the economy. I mean, we've had a constellation of reasonably good data, even in the face of a soft spot at the end of last year. I think today's housing market data are certainly reinforce that point. But you also see a labor market which has been fairly strong. You see a consumer which is fairly well positioned in terms of fundamentals. And then you see a Fed funds rate which is measured in a few basis points. So to say that these are tight conditions from policy, I think is overstating that case. Where you do see a lot of tightening is from global growth fears, particularly emanating from emerging markets.
Still, the dollar's rise isn't making that any easier. Let me ask you, Bricklin, what you expect for the U.S. economy. Clearly, the fourth quarter, we hit a soft patch. The question is how much we're rebounding during this first quarter, January through March, and then throughout the year, whether the economy can come back at a time where global growth is slowing. What do you think?
Well, it's tough. Our expectations for Q4 growth is basically zero. So that's a whole lot of nothing and a whole lot of not much to write home about. For Q1, that means we get a bit of a bounce back, as you mentioned. We have a drawdown in inventories. It probably means that we'll get a bounce in inventories in Q1. But we're looking at this morning some residual seasonality. So basically, all this data is seasonally adjusted. Well, it's not done very well. If you seasonally adjust it twice, you start to get some second round effects or patterns that emerge. And what we see is that Q1 is typically very weak. We know this. We blame it on weather. We blame it on a lot of things. But it turns out we just do a pretty poor job of seasonally adjusting data. So while we could get a bit of a rebound, that may be a bit muted because of just bad seasonal adjustment. I think the underlying trend here is what matters, though. We think that the trend coming out of Q4 will probably be pretty decent. We think that the Fed is on a track to, digest the data, look at what things are to come, and end up hiking rates in March. But we think they'll take their time and make sure that things look good to do that.